MegaHistory presents.
The French Revolution was a storm that shattered old worlds and forged new ones. For Napoleon Bonaparte, it was the crucible that transformed an angry, impoverished Corsican outsider into a national hero. By 1793, France was a nation at war with itself. Monarchs across Europe sought to crush the revolution. Royalist rebellions erupted in the provinces, and Parisian streets ran red with the blood of the Reign of Terror. In this chaos, Napoleon's ambition found its purpose. This is the story of how a young artillery officer with nothing but his intellect and audacity climbed from the brink of obscurity to the heights of power, surviving political purges, mastering the art of war, and securing his place in the heart of a fractured nation. In December 1793, the port city of Toulon became a symbol of the revolution's fragility. Held by royalist rebels and their British allies, its fall would hand France's Mediterranean fleet to England, a disaster for the Republic. The Revolutionary Army, demoralized and poorly led, seemed destined to fail until a 24-year-old captain named Napoleon Bonaparte arrived. Assigned to the artillery, he immediately recognized the strategic key to victory, capturing Fort Legalet, a promontory overlooking the harbor. "Give me this position," he argued to his skeptical superiors, "and I will drive the British into the sea." His plan was dismissed as reckless. The fort was heavily defended, and the terrain treacherous. But Napoleon, relentless and persuasive, wore down resistance. Working through freezing nights, he directed the placement of cannons under constant fire, improvising tactics that defied textbook strategies. When the assault began, his artillery rained hellfire on the British fleet, forcing their retreat. Toulon fell, and with it, Napoleon's name echoed across France. Promoted to brigadier general, he became the youngest general in the French army. Yet his triumph was bittersweet. The victory at Toulon coincided with the execution of his mentor, Augustin Robespierre, in the Thermidorian reaction. Overnight, Napoleon's political allies vanished, and he was arrested for alleged Jacobin sympathies. Imprisoned in the Fort Carré fortress, he faced the guillotine's shadow. "What is life?" he wrote to his brother Joseph. "A fleeting dream, chased by the specter of death." But fate spared him. With no concrete evidence, he was released after 2 weeks, though his career stalled. Stripped of command, he wandered Paris in poverty, drafting wild schemes to escape to Turkey or join the British East India Company. Yet even in despair, his ambition burned. "I am made for greatness," he confided to a friend. "The world will hear of me, or I will die forgotten." By October 1795, the revolution teetered on collapse. The Directory, France's new government, faced a royalist uprising in Paris. Over 25,000 armed rebels marched on the Tuileries Palace, intent on restoring the monarchy. Desperate, the politician Paul Barras turned to Napoleon, recalling his ruthlessness at Toulon. "Can you defend the Republic?" Barras asked. Napoleon's reply was ice cold. "Yes, but once I strike, I do not stop." With fewer than 6,000 troops, Napoleon positioned cannons along the streets leading to the palace. As the rebels advanced, he unleashed a barrage of grapeshot, a hail of iron pellets that shredded flesh and bone. The streets ran red. The uprising collapsed in hours. The Whiff of Grapeshot not only saved the Directory, but cemented Napoleon's reputation as a man of decisive violence. Rewarded with command of the Army of the Interior, he became the guardian of Paris, hunting down dissenters and rebuilding the city's defenses. Yet his ambition stretched beyond policing. "Italy," he wrote, "is the key to Europe. Let me conquer it, and I will give France an empire." In 1796, Napoleon's life collided with one of history's most enigmatic women, Marie-Joseph Rose de Beauharnais, known as Joséphine. A Creole widow from Martinique, she had survived the terror. Her first husband was guillotined, and reinvented herself as a fixture of Parisian salons. Charismatic and cunning, she wielded influence through charm and connections. Their meeting was calculated. Napoleon, socially awkward and unrefined, needed her polish. Joséphine, nearing financial ruin, needed his rising star. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Napoleon, 26, fell obsessively in love, penning feverish letters. You are the constant object of my thoughts. My soul aches with longing. Joséphine, 32, was more pragmatic. She admired his intensity, but hesitated until Barras, her former lover, urged the match. The marriage, he knew, would bind Napoleon to the Directory's interest. They wed in a civil ceremony on March 9, 1796. Joséphine wore a necklace spelling "A la Destinée," to destiny. Napoleon gifted her a cameo engraved "To the Sublime." 2 days later, he left to command the Army of Italy, a ragtag force neglected by Paris. Joséphine remained behind, indulging in luxuries and affairs. Napoleon's letters grew desperate. Do you love me? Swear it. My life depends on your answer. Yet their union was transformative. Through Joséphine, Napoleon accessed Parisian elite circles, crafting an image of romantic heroism that captivated the public. She became his muse and mythmaker, even as her betrayals haunted him. The Army of Italy was a joke to France's leaders, undersupplied, unpaid, and mutinous. But Napoleon saw potential. Soldiers! He declared upon arrival, you are hungry and naked. I will lead you into the most fertile plains on earth. Riches, honor, and glory await. His words electrified the men. Combining speed, deception, and psychological warfare, he outmaneuvered Austrian and Sardinian forces twice his size. At the Battle of Montenotte, April 1796, he split enemy armies with a feint, then crushed them piecemeal. At Lodi Bridge, May 1796, he led a suicidal charge across a river under heavy fire, earning the nickname the Little Corporal from his troops. By May 1797, he had conquered Lombardy, crushed the Papal States, and negotiated the Treaty of Campo Formio, redrawing Europe's map. France acquired Belgium and the Rhineland. Napoleon returned to Paris a conqueror. Yet Italy was more than a military triumph. Napoleon curated his legend, commissioning artists and writers to portray him as a liberator, freeing Italians from feudal oppression. He looted art treasures, the horses of St. Mark from Venice, manuscripts from Milan to fund his army and flatter Paris's cultural elite. Privately, he confided, "In Italy, I learned I could shape the world to my will." Napoleon's victories masked deepening personal strife. Josephine's infidelities, including an affair with a dashing hussar officer, shattered him. You are the torment and joy of my life, he wrote, veering between fury and despair. Yet he forgave her, fearing scandal. Their relationship became a microcosm of his leadership, a blend of passion, calculation, and unyielding control. Political threats also loomed. The Directory feared his popularity. He returns covered in glory, warned the minister. But whose glory? To sideline him, they proposed an invasion of England, a suicide mission. Napoleon, ever the strategist, countered with a daring alternative: strike Britain's empire by seizing Egypt. The plan was approved, but his true motive was clear. Europe is too small, he told confidants. Great reputations are made in the East. By 1798, Napoleon stood at a crossroads. He had saved the revolution, conquered Italy, and married into Paris's elite. Yet his ambition was insatiable. I see the world slipping away if I stand still, he wrote. The Egyptian expedition, a mix of military ambition and Enlightenment curiosity, would test his limits. But as he sailed for Alexandria, France simmered with discontent. The Directory, corrupt and inept, teetered toward collapse. Napoleon's rise was no accident. It was the product of genius, timing, and an unerring instinct for power. He had turned the revolution's chaos into a ladder, climbing from exile to idol. Yet the higher he rose, the more precarious his footing became. In Italy, he had promised his soldiers glory. In Paris, he vowed to save the Republic. But as the next chapter will reveal, Napoleon's destiny lay not in serving France, but in ruling it,